All right, guys, so let's talk about the new Monk class that just came out. This class has some pretty solid passives, and not only that, we are also getting some pretty strong AoEs. Not only does it have strong AoEs, it has the ability to close the gap, as well as pull enemies in. That in itself is pretty strong. Now, we currently are running 22 into Monk, as well as 10 into Warrior for our skill sets. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit about what the skills do and what we will use them for, right? So initially when we start off the game, or we start off the round, we are going to make sure that we have Ascendancy on our Vamp Monk, as well as we enchant Lightning and enchant Fire. We currently do not enchant Cold because with the current group that we're running, it's actually going to destroy our Ice Mage. So our Ice Mage won't be able to get freezes, and he won't get additional turns. So we are kind of losing out on a little bit of damage, but it's okay. We start out buffing with Ascendancy, Enchant Lightning, and Enchant Fire. And then we move over to the Warlock. Now this could be either a Warlock tank or a Warlock. And we give our Monk at least 2 turns to do as much damage as possible. Not only that, with the actual Warlock tank that we have, we can actually pull the Monk out and then wait for the cooldown, which is 5 turns on the Dark Ritual. Or we could use the Enchanter to give shields. We have the Shield of Light and the Shield of Retribution, and these will basically keep him alive for a few more turns, so you can stay in the fight longer. Now, you don't have to do this. You could also just teleport him out. Like I said, we have Light's Beacon. Maybe if you're running a pure healer, you can also spec into Light's Beacon, and you can pull out your damage dealer as well. That's the one thing I see with the big problem with melee is they can do a lot of damage, but they can't really take a lot of hits, right? But we're currently grinding tier 3 gear. We're in level 70 rifts, and with our current weapons and our builds, we're doing really well. The reason we're doing really well is we actually have tier 2 weapons that are fully maxed. So we got plus 30 weapon damage, as well as weapon damage increased by 60%. We're losing a little bit of movement, but once you get to 100 dexterity, you've got quite a bit of movement. And not only that, we're rocking the Warlock tank, which can also help teleport us to where we need to go, or help us close the gap even further. Now, let's go over the skills. So we start off with the Ascendancy, the weapons buffs, and all that crazy stuff. And then we go into Bloodlet, which is going to give us 15% more damage because we're going to sacrifice 15% of our health. It's also going to give us an additional turn. And then we will also do Tempered Rage. You could opt for the 25% over the 15 and 15 life. If you wanted to do a little bit more damage. However, I would rather not have the additional damage dealt to my character because there are times where you may not be able to keep him alive. Even with our pain suppression, sometimes mobs at level 70 will still kill him. And we want to avoid that because we want him to stay in the fight as long as possible, right? Now, the next skill that we usually will use is going to be the Cyclone Kick. And that's going to pull all the mobs around us in within 4 spaces, right? So what this is going to do is this is going to give us a big pull so that all our AoE nukers can also, put a crap ton of damage on top of those monsters and allow us, if we don't kill them first, allow us to finish them off quicker, right? Another cool thing is Quakening Fists. It does physical damage to all foes. This one usually gets up to around 28 to 32k damage, depending on the buffs that we have up at the time and how much spaces we've moved, as well as how much damage we've taken. Sometimes when we're at 1% health, we get 99% more damage. So that's pretty crazy, right? And that's kind of why the Dark Ritual is so cool with this build, because it keeps us alive long enough to where we can retaliate for even more damage. Now, another cool thing, guys, is we can actually open up with these 2 big attacks at the same time. We get the Cyclone Kick, then we can get the Quaking Fists, and then we follow that up with a Howl. This is going to also further reduce the enemies around us, their damage by 20%, And it's going to do, 20 more K damage if we crit. Very strong opening. Next thing we do is we hold on to power strikes. We can run this the next turn. What we'll basically do is generally we'll move away from the enemies as much as we can, as long as we're within a range of 8, and then we'll fly back in, and then we'll hit 4 more times. And that's going to get a 50% damage increase for each person we hit after that. This does some pretty crazy damage as well. Another cool thing too is many-sided strike is really good versus solo targets. So say you wipe everybody and you just have that big juicy boss mob left. This can do upwards to 200k damage in my current build with what we currently have on. And that's with the Ascendancy buff and everything. That's a metric crap ton of damage. Also, don't sleep on move objects. Now, a lot of you guys may not be utilizing this, but I'm going to let you know now, these objects, the barrels, do so much damage. They do upwards to around 100 to 200k depending on a monster's resistances and whatnot. Like these, utilizing those with just having the ability to blow them up while attacking everything is pretty insane. It's great damage. It really helps out when you're trying to clear mobs really fast so that you're not stuck in the game for too long, right? Then we also run a Ring of Haste because sometimes if we don't have 15% health, say we move into a shock or something and it completely obliterates our health all the way down to 1% or 1 HP, then we can actually still do a haste, and then we'll full heal with our weapons because our weapons both have lifesteal on them as well. Really crazy. All right, guys, so let's talk about skills. Now, so we spec 22 into Monk, and we currently are going Endurance 1 and Endurance 2 for 25% more health. And then we're also going into Momentum 1 and Momentum 2, which is going to give us an additional 5% damage per hex that we move. And what that is basically going to do is give us a guaranteed 50% damage increase upwards to 60, as long as our Warlock tank is using Rally on our first turn before we move. And then we are speccing into Pain Suppression, which is what we would use turn 3 if all the enemies are not dead. We pop Pain Suppression, and then we throw up a shield on top of that. Generally speaking, we'll start off with the Shield of Retribution, and then turn 4 we'll either do Shield of Light or hopefully everything's dead. That's the game plan. Or if we know that they're not multi-hitting characters, we'll do Ghost Armor instead, and we can save our Pain Suppression for later on. And because we have 2 Ghost Armors, realistically, as long as they're not multi-hitting, we can keep our Vampire Monk next to those enemies for the duration of the fight, right? In theory, it should not take more than 5 turns in our current build that we have to kill everything on the board. Now, in level 70 Rifts, which is currently what we are running, mobs, their HP are roughly around 300k to 2.2 mils, what I've seen. And with tier 2 weapons, which is what we have on basically everyone except for our Ice Mage, the Enchanter, and the Warlock tank, these guys don't really need any super big weapons or anything like that to do their jobs. But you do need your other DPS. If you're going to be running a 6-man like me, you need to be upgrading their weapons and focusing for those. All right. Now, we're also running shadow weapons, guys. And the reason we run shadow weapons is because it's pure damage. It ignores all defenses. Armor, it doesn't care about armor. It doesn't care about your elemental resistances. Shadow is pretty good. Now, weapons with shadow do less damage, but you know what you're going to get. With that being said, we go 10% of our might is going to be added to our weapon as additional damage, which is going to further increase our damage output when we go with weapon of choice. We also go into willpower, which is another way to hopefully mitigate damage to keep our character alive, especially for multi-hitting units. Multi-hitting units, generally, if they're a multi-hitting unit, they're not going to hit as hard as the single target DPS units that you're fighting, the mobs. So when the multi-hitters bust through the Ghost Armor, we're able to hopefully mitigate after the first hit and or second hit just enough damage to keep us alive through their onslaught, right? And then we also spec into speed, which is basically you're getting a 0.33 increase to your crit rate and crit damage. I think this is worth it. However, once we get to tier 3 gear, we might actually trade this out for other skills later on. Once we get into tier 3 gear, that is still up for debate. Because currently we don't really need 22 points in Monk. We're only going this far into it because we're not really seeing any issues with damage yet, right? But once we start to climb a little bit higher, we might see a little bit more issues, you know, past level 70 when HP just gets insane. Now, we're also going into strength, which is going to further increase our damage output. Every 1 might gives us 0.33% damage and healing, which the healing doesn't matter for our character, but the damage does, right? Because this character is your melee character who's jumping in, he's gathering the enemies, he's destroying them, and that's what we want to see. That's what we want to do. Now, another cool thing about the monk class is 2 of the abilities we are choosing actually go off of our weapon damage. So this means that we are doing full damage, full shadow damage during our attacks. So with power strikes, we go into dashing strikes and then power strikes, as well as our many-sided strikes is also another really good one. This one actually, you know, is better used versus a single target unit. And the reason for that is because when you're hitting that single target unit, you're going to hit him 5 times, and it's going to be really, really hard because you're stacking your momentum, you have your ascendancy on, and you're basically doing upwards to around 200k with the current setup that you're going to see in this video. And I mean, that's a lot of damage, especially when, you know, mobs have somewhere around, like I said, 300k to 2.2 mil HP. I mean, 200k damage, that's a lot. That can be enough to finish off, you know, even the biggest enemy, right? Especially when they're getting really, really low after your, you know, first and or second turn that you've basically pummeled them in. Now, we also spec into Cyclone Kick. And in my opinion, guys, this is probably one of the best abilities that they've added in the game because this gives tanks the ability to pull stuff in. This gives you the ability to manipulate the battlefield to move enemies wherever you want them. This helps you for setting up barrels to do even more damage to mobs, as you're going to see in some of the video footage that we're going to put in after we're done explaining everything. Man, you guys, it's insane. I hated playing as a melee character, leveling up my second hardcore group of players, and it was because I just didn't see damage. And then once this update came out, I'm like, wow, so this is what melee can do, right? And it took getting some tier 2 weapons to get to this point, but I'm telling you guys, if you grind enough, you get these weapons, if you power them up, you're going to notice a big increase in the damage that you're doing. And if you're utilizing the monk's abilities, it's even crazier. It's even more insane. Now, we also use Quaking Fists. This is just a very high damage output AoE in general. Generally, I think top end when we do all of our movement and stuff, we see roughly around 30k, 32k. Pretty good base damage, you know, especially for level 70 rifts. Can't complain. I actually thoroughly am enjoying the new class. I'm actually using it in multiple mage builds too. Maybe it's not necessary. We could probably go elsewhere with it, but it's I think it's actually doing really well. They're probably going to tone it down a little bit, I bet. But as of right now, it's definitely shaking up the meta, right? So let's go ahead and talk about the 10 points that we put into Warrior. Now, we go into Rage, and then we're also going into Tempered Rage. And the reason we're going to the Tempered Rage is just in case we have a fight that goes on longer than we would like. I don't want to take more damage, right? Because if we take more damage, it's not beneficial for us in the long run. The 10% extra damage seems good, but with our damage mitigation, we don't want to risk it because this character does do the biggest burst of damage out of all of our characters, right? And he is generally going to have the most survivability over all of our mages. So we don't want to risk it for Berserker's Rage. At least I don't yet. We'll see later on when we start to get in tier 3 gear. We might change the build up a little bit. But as of right now, I just don't see the worth right there. Now, Bloodlet, this is worth 100%. Just being able to get an extra turn in 2 turns in a row without having to use our Enchanter's haste ring as well as our Warlock tank's haste rings, we can save these so that we can consecutively take extra turns every turn. So this guy can continuously put out damage. And in my opinion, I wouldn't change Bloodlet for the world. I think it's really good. It's also going to give us 15% more damage because we also spec into Berserker's Blood. So turn 1, we're already getting 15% more damage on top of the 20% from Warmonger and whatever else we're getting from our Might, right? Now, we also have Howl is one of the other abilities that we spec into, and this is really good because it costs no AP. So once again, turn 1, we're hitting for 3 different skills, and we're doing a lot of AoE damage. And then all of our casters are AoE damage as well. It just obliterates everything. It's amazing. Now, we also go into Bone Collector because as we start to kill stuff off, this is going to increase our health as well as our damage. You can't beat that either, guys. I mean, you're getting 30% more health and 30% more damage. Totally worth it, guys. We also go into Dual Wield Mastery. This is going to give us a little bit more dodge, a little bit more survivability. Not that dodge is our main point of survivability, but 5% goes a long way, guys. Believe it or not. Also, we get crit hit chance increased by 5% and critical hit damage by an additional 20. So just further increases our damage. Totally worth. So let's go ahead and talk about our gear and what we're currently using. So as you guys can see, we're using Perfected Crimson brand of the Titan. So we craft on Perfected, which is plus 30 weapon damage, and we're also going into Titan, which is going to give us 60% more increased weapon damage on top of that, just for one weapon. And then we also do that with our offhand as well. And as you guys can see, we're getting 20 might and 20 dex, as well as 16% lifesteal. So whenever we deal damage, even if our life's low, we're getting that health back. You know, roughly, you know, we're hitting for 100k. You know, we're getting 7+k back, whatever it is. Now, if you guys don't know, lifesteal does not actually give 1% per lifesteal. Once you hit level 30, your lifesteal gets nerfed quite a bit. So it doesn't make sense for you or I or anyone else to spec into lifesteal any more than what you're seeing on these weapons. Trust me, if you're going for 100% lifesteal, you're wasting your time, because you want to be speccing more into damage, because the more damage you're putting out, the more you're going to heal anyway. And if you overstack lifesteal, you're going to lose damage. What I mean by that is you won't be able to get the crit hit chance on your amulets, and or you won't be able to get your crit hit chance on your Ring of Haste. The reason we don't have this spec yet is we're waiting for a tier 3. I don't see the point in throwing crit chance on a haste ring until we are there to go, you know, good to go. Now, there's a few different pieces of armor that we would prefer to have. Arcane robes are going to give us quite a bit of might, especially when we get tier 3. But we will talk about the other chest pieces here in the future. As well as we definitely want the Valkyrie Helm of the Abyss. Now, the reason the Valkyrie Helm of the Abyss is so good is because it's giving us 30% more might, right? It's giving us a little bit of vitality as well. But it also gives us glory. If you guys don't know what glory does, glory, actually, when you take fatal damage, will put you at 1 health, and then you become immune to all damage for 1 turn. So if our shields fail us on turn 3, or if our damage suppression fails us, you know, whatever we have, the damage reduction, if it doesn't work, the glory will save us, and we'll be able to full heal and hopefully live to fight another day. If you guys didn't know, shadow percentage damage as well as shadow damage, when it comes to these weapons, adds to your auto attacks, as well as any weapons that, or any attacks that will have weapon damage in them. So this is going to be dealing that extra percentage damage when we use it. So any items that we have that have extra percentage damage, that is going to add on to that. So keep that in mind for the future if you guys are starting to figure out what you're building towards, that is one thing to keep in mind, because that is going to help you greatly increase your DPS. So let's go ahead and go over to the wiki, which has recently been updated. All right, guys, so let's talk about Crimson Brand. Now, the Crimson Brand is a 5% drop chance from the Duke, which you're going to find primarily in Act 3. Very easy to find. If you guys wanted to change your weapon type, you're more than welcome. I'm going to leave the link in the description below if you guys want to check out the wiki and look at other weapons and see what you might be interested in for your builds. There is no set in stone way to build your characters, guys. This is a game where you are allowed to be as creative as you want to be and push as far as you want. Right? There are guys that are on the Discord that will talk about how they're going into the 100 pluses of levels, and they're going solo and they're doing massive amounts of damage and they're just doing work. That could be you guys too. My builds are just giving you an idea of what you can do, and they are not set in stone. So feel free to theory craft and do whatever you want as you're building your characters. All right. Don't take my builds as a set in stone way to build your own. Now, let's talk about helmets. Now, the helmets, the only helmet I would recommend actually is going to be the Golden Helm of the Valkyrie. Now, this drops from the Valkyrie Commander, which is more commonly found in Act 2. I think I've seen her in Act 3, but it's very rare. Now, I've got 2 chest pieces that I would focus on getting for my build. We have not seen any drops for it yet. However, my main piece that I would want would be the Golden Valkyrie Plate. And the reason for that is because it's going to give us 3 stats that we like and love. That's going to be Might, Dex, and Vitality. And it's also going to give us percentage Vitality increase as we level up. Now, what you guys are seeing here is 20%. So it starts out at 4% at level 1 and then 20% at level 30. Now, when you go up in tiers, it's going to get even more percentage. So tier 1 is going to get a certain percentage more, tier 2 is going to get a certain percentage more, and then tier 3 is going to get even more. So keep that in mind when you guys are seeing these stats on the wiki. That's what this is indicating, is it's level 1 and level 30, I believe. So this also drops from the Valkyrie Commander, but it's only at a 4% chance. So now we're going to move on to the next best in slot chest piece, which is going to be the Arcane Robes. In my opinion, this one is going to scale very heavy. Now, what I mean by that is at a tier 3, it's basically going to be 90 plus stats, right? So you're basically going to be getting almost 100% just by wearing a amulet for your weapon damage. You're getting 100% more. That's a lot, right? Now, the other chest piece may be better if you're trying to get a little bit more crit rate, crit damage, as well as health and, a little extra damage as well for might and whatnot. And the reason for that is maybe you want a more balanced build so you still have a little bit more survivability. But I do think if I'm going to go end game, when we start to push higher than level 70, I'm most likely going to go with the Arcane Robes over the Valkyrie chest piece, because there's a certain point where no matter what we do, the damage mitigation isn't going to prevent death anymore, if that makes any sense, guys. Let's talk about amulets. So for me, best in slot amulet is going to be the Amulet of Power, and a good runner up is definitely going to be the Black Dragon Eye. Now, I currently am not ballsy enough to fight a level 70 Black Dragon or any of the dragons, for the matter of the fact, because I am a hardcore account and I don't want to lose all my progress. Because if you guys didn't know, the dragons can multi-hit like a boss, and we can leave to menu, but you can't leave to menu if they multi-hit all your characters to death, right? So if you wanted to save your account, you can't. So I am going to wait until all my characters are fully geared up to tier 2 before I start farming dragons at level 70. And I think I could actually probably go a little higher farming other bosses, but dragons, no shot. Not at this moment. So Now, if you guys want to see a comparison of what these look like, currently we have the Violent Amulet of Power. Violent is what we crafted onto it, so we're getting 5% more crit chance. Ideally, we'll be putting crit chance on our rings as well in the future. And same with this one. I would probably put crit on this as well, but it's not a tier item, so it's not worth. If I were you guys, don't craft until you get tier 2 items. Save all of your stuff until you start to get tier 2 items, because if you waste it on a tier 1 item like this, you're going to regret it, because a lot of these things are hard to get. A lot of these craft materials take a while to grind. I mean, you can target farm them, but ideally you don't want to just target farm them. You want to get progression for your gear, right? So like what I'm doing currently is I'm only attacking the bosses that I know are dropping items that I want for specific builds. All right, so the Vampiric Dragon Eye, this is a non-tier item, but it's level 30. As you can see, it's giving plus 336 to shadow damage. Now that's going to apply to both our power strikes and our mini-sided strike, and it also applies to our auto attacks with our weapons. All right, so that's pretty cool. Totally worth it. This is best in slot in my opinion. This is a good runner-up. Maybe it might be better off later on, but hear me out when I say this. I think that going might, pure might, is actually going to be better because of our skills, our passives. We're getting that extra percentage damage, as well as we're also getting the stats off of our helmet, and we're also getting stats that are going to go to our pure weapon damage based off of 10% of what our might is, right? So overall, Violent Amulet of Power, probably best in slot, right? Now, let's move on to rings. So best in slot ring currently, until I feel like the need for more damage, is going to be, for me, the Distancing Ring of Haste, just because additional turns are money, right? For me, at least, I'm enjoying the Distancing Ring of Haste. But if I were to run something differently, it would be, well, and as you guys can see as well, the Distancing Ring of Haste drops from the Sun Queen. 20% chance, so it's pretty common. But if I'm going to run anything else, guys, it's going to be the Ring of Power. The Ring of Power drops from the broker at a 4% chance, and if you can get a tier 2 or tier 3, obviously, if you're running a Ring of Haste on your support characters, then you might as well go for the power. More damage and more weapon damage, right? Totally worth, 100%. So, and you're going to get more stats, right? So we're getting 18 stats on a Ring of Haste, right? Whereas we're going to be getting, you know, plus 59 more stats, I believe, if my math is correct, to might, which is going to be, you know, 15% more damage or something crazy like that. Math's hard. Might have got that wrong. It might be more or less. Doesn't matter. But it's also going to give us, you know, another 5.9 more damage on our weapons, right? And every piece of damage counts, especially when you're trying to kill stuff fast, right? So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and roll into the clips, and we're going to show you guys some massive damage we've done with this character. Also want you guys to pay attention that we're utilizing this character to group people up around barrels so that we can do more damage and get done with these bosses quicker. Now, every tier or every level you go up, the barrels are going to do more damage as well, guys. So if you guys aren't using barrels to kill stuff, think about it, because it's worth. Trust me, it's going to increase your time to kill by quite a bit. All right, so the boss, he's right there. 2 million. That's a lot. All right, we're going to go as far up as we can. Oh boy. Let's, first off, we start with buffs. We don't want to misplay. If we misplay, I will cry. Because we want this to go as flawless as possible. I do not have a photographic memory. You'll catch me constantly rereading and looking at things over and over and over. It's a curse. All right, so freezing is kind of scary. He's moved up all the way, right? He is. So we're looking. This guy definitely needs to be dealt with. The Zealot. Grandmaster as well. So let's go ahead and teleport to here. Let's lower the weaknesses on the Zealot. The Zealot. Alright, we're going to Dark Ritual our Monk. Okay, maybe not yet, but we will. Alright, so Dark Ritual the Monk before we do anything dumb. We're going to take the hit. You ready? Here we go. Pop! Oh, you got an Oculus on a Minotaur. Nice. You see how much damage you just did? You can't do and get this damage anywhere else. Easy. We don't want him to move too much, right? All right, so we need to be moved up 2 squares. He would have to be right there, right? So we'll teleport him to here. We gotta hope this works. Nice. It will. Bet. All right. Nice. 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 This is good. Are you guys ready? We're about to do some massive deeps. Everything's going to die here soon. Right? I think we open up with Meteor Shower. Kill off as much as we can. Oh, no, the freezing. Oh, no. Did we lose? This could be the end. Because he's going to do some gnarly AoEs, isn't he? Do we have to back out, Panda? Oh no! Oh, he's so close to dead. Alright, we're good. There's no way we lose this. Oh, alright, good, good, good. Nice. Okay, this is good. Okay, we were worried. We were very worried. That's an understatement. Very worried is an understatement. I told you that was going to happen, didn't I? He killed every freaking one. In case he tries to run backwards, we don't want him to go too far. Let's give him ice so we can freeze if we need to. I knew that was going to happen. Nice. He's killing himself. This is good. This is so good. We need to heal ourselves. We're going to blind again. We don't have anything else to do. We'll do this. Do that. We need some mana potions. We definitely need pain suppression. We'll back up. Dude, right? That was nutty. Mana potion. How much life? 12k. This should be a finisher. Perfect. Let's go. Wow. Come on, give me some T3s. Hey, nice. Okay. Too bad it wasn't this. That would have been sweet. Oh. We almost messed up. Okay. Oh, there's another one. Another barrel. We're gonna hurt somebody. Oh no. Okay, so we can get some pretty good damage. Let's do this. We cannot do that yet. All right, we got to make sure we put that on him. Okay. I mean, hands down. Come on. So we got one. Soul has been linked. Let's go, dudes. Huh? 30%. Just in case. Hit him with the big one. This, when these blow up, should kill every one of them, right? Make sure we do these. We gotta be very careful. We're gonna kill our warlock, but we're all right. We don't care, right? Ooh, wrong one. We almost brought the wrong person. That would have been no good. Okay, this should hit all of them, right? Let's check. Hopefully this works. Perfect. No! No! That ain't right. No! Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, we almost killed our guys. This sucks. Now hear me out. We're going to lose out on this is like close to 100+K damage, right? We're going to miss out on that because of a misplay. Rip, dudes. Hey, look at that damage.